INS Vikrant is India's pride. Yes, this was the message given by Prime Minister Modi as he spent Diwali in 2025 on board India's indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised INS Vikrant as the largest warship constructed indigenously. The photo that you're going to be seeing on your screens now was a huge statement sent by India's Prime Minister Modi, surrounded by India's MiG-29K fighters, 30 of which stand lined up on INS Vikrant. The Prime Minister called the strength of INS Vikrant a nightmare for Pakistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also witnessed an air power demo of MiG-29s on the deck of INS Vikrant. In the video, you can see an Indian Navy MiG-29K take off with Prime Minister giving his thumbs up to the jet. This air power demo, which had the takeoff and landing of India MiG-29Ks, was a spectacular show of precision and prowess. The air power demo also showed the supersonic fighter jet firing what looks like a 30 mm cannon range, with the Prime Minister witnessing this majestic show of India's naval prowess. INS Vikrant is India's first indigenous aircraft carrier. The INS Vikrant has been named, after INS Vikrant, which was commissioned in 1961, was purchased from the British Royal Navy in 1957. It played a stellar role in the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, despite being a poor condition due to it being more than 25 years old. Vikrant was deployed thanks to then Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Sardari Lal Matradas Nanda, Fleet Operations Officer Captain Gulab Mohan Lal Iran Nandani, and Vice Admiral N. Krishnan. Vikrant's commanding officer in 1971 was Vice Admiral Swaraj Prakash, who got the crew of the Vikrant and the pilots of the air squadrons up to full combat capability. It wasn't easy because there were only 6 available aircrafts when the pilots began their training in July 1971. The number then increased to 18, and the pilots and the crew of the ship underwent intense combat training. Then, when this training was complete, the fleet sailed to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands on the 13th of November. Vikrant's first big win was when it was deployed to strike Chittagong and Cox's Bazar Harbour. 6 Seahawks launched from the Vikrant sank in fact most of the berthed ships in Chittagong and Cox's Bazar Harbours with their 500-pound bombs. In just 10 days, over 300 strike sorties were flown by aircraft from the Vikrant. The warship exceeded expectations, and the aircraft proved instrumental in establishing total control of the Bay of Bengal, air superiority in East Pakistani airspace, and establishing a total naval blockade to prevent supplies and trade coming in from West Pakistan. India's Defence Minister George Fernandes had authorized the development and construction of aircraft carrier INS Vikrant under the Project 71 air defence ship. In 2001, Cochin Shipyard Limited released a graphic illustration showing a 32,000-ton ship design. 22 years later, INS Vikrant was delivered to the Indian Navy on the 28th of July 2022. Prime Minister Narendra Modi commissioned INS Vikrant on 2nd September 2022 in a grand ceremony at Cochin Shipyard. INS Vikrant is 262 meters long and 62 meters wide and displaces about 45,000 tons. It features a storebar configuration, which is a naval aviation system used for the takeoff and landing of fixed-wing aircraft from the flight deck, where aircraft take off under their own engine power. It can carry an air group of up to 36 aircrafts, including 26 fixed-wing combat aircrafts and a mix of Dhruv Mk3, Sikorsky MH-60R and Kamov Ka-31 helicopters. The Ka-31 will fulfill the airborne early warning role. MH-60R will provide anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare capabilities, and Dhruv will be used mainly for search and rescue operations. Vikrant is powered by 4 General Electric LM2500 plus gas turbines on 2 shafts, generating over 80 megawatts of power. The flight deck measures an area of 12,450 square meters. 12 fighter jets, 6 helicopters can be parked on the flight deck to respond immediately to an emergency situation. There is one shorter and another long runway, accompanied by a 14-degree ski jump for takeoff. The hangar is situated 5 decks below the flight deck and has a 20 aircraft capacity. It is equipped with 2 hydraulic 360-degree rotatable turntables, which is a circular revolving platform to turn an aircraft in any required direction. The carrier has 2 giant elevators of 30 tons payload capacity. It starts to prevent fire and flood on the vessel. There are over 3,000 fire sensors and 700 flood sensors on the ship. By taking the necessary steps, DCHQ can mitigate fire as well as flooding. DCHQ is staffed around the clock. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi heaped praises for INS Vikrant and its role during Operation Sindoor.
कल से आपके बीच हूं, एक एक पल मैंने कुछ न कुछ सीखा है, कुछ न कुछ जाना है। जब दिल्ली से निकला था तो मन करता था कि मैं भी इस पल को जी लूं। लेकिन साथियों, आप लोगों का परिश्रम, आप लोगों की तपस्या, आप लोगों की साधना, आप लोगों का समर्पण, ये इतनी ऊंचाई पर है, इतनी ऊंचाई पर है कि मैं उसे जी नहीं पाया, लेकिन जान जरूर पाया हूं, जान सका हूं। मैं अंदाज लगा सकता हूं कि इसे जीना कितना कठिन होगा, लेकिन जब आपसे निकट रह करके आपकी सांस को अनुभव कर रहा था, आपकी धड़कन को महसूस कर रहा था, आपकी आंखों की वो चमक को देख पा रहा था, तब मैं रात जब सोया, कल थोड़ा जल्दी सोया, जो कभी सोता नहीं हूं। शायद जल्दी सोने का कारण भी ये होगा कि आपको जब कल दिन भर देखा तो भीतर जो संतोष का भाव था, वो नींद मेरी नहीं, संतोष की नींद थी।
INS Vikrant was deployed to the Arabian Sea during Operation Sindoor. The Indian Navy had deployed a total of 36 warships, which included an INS Vikrant-led carrier battle group, including 8 to 10 warships. The deployment included the entire fleet of 7 Kolkata and Visakhapatnam class destroyers with BrahMos and Mirsam missiles, as well as 7 frigates, including INS Tushil, and around 6 submarines. The ships deployed by the Indian Navy reportedly outnumbered both the numbers deployed by the Pakistan Navy and India's own deployment during Operation Trident and Operation Python in 1971, where 6 warships had taken part. According to the Director General of Naval Operations, the Navy was prepared to strike multiple Pakistani locations at any time, including Karachi. It was later reported that the Indian Navy had its target packages assigned and were on hot standby to launch land attack missiles at targets inside Pakistan multiple times. Targets included Pakistan Navy ships and submarines in harbour and other land targets. In fact, little is known that a MiG-29K intercepted a lone Pakistan RAS-72 Sea Eagle, which was forced to return to the base. Well, this is everything that makes INS Vikrant India's ace in the Arabian Sea. Had it been brought to the battleground, Pakistan would have probably surrendered earlier than it did in 1971. Joining us live now is Commodore Anil Jay Singh, former Indian Navy officer. Commodore Anil Jay Singh, what makes INS Vikrant so special, which the Prime Minister visited today?
There are 2 or 3 things, Uday. Thank you for having me on your program. There are 2 or 3 things that make INS Vikrant stand out from the rest. Firstly, of course, it's our indigenously built aircraft carrier, the first ever indigenously built aircraft carrier in India, which in itself is a testimony to our industrial skills, our engineering skills, and of course the support of the policymakers, the Navy's encouragement at every step, and thereafter successful operation by the Navy. So I think that is the first aspect we must understand. We've had aircraft carriers since 1961, but this is India's first homegrown aircraft carrier and promises a future where we will probably have bigger, better carriers depending on the kind of role India envisages for itself on the global stage. Aircraft carriers are very important blue water platforms. I know in this case we've sort of attributed a lot of credit to Vikrant in Op Sindoor, which is one of his very important roles, because effectively, if you realize, the Arabian Sea was more or less not accessible to anybody else. If you have a powerful aircraft carrier like the Vikrant, accompanied by its carrier battle group and other ships in company and submarines on patrol, obviously a restricted sea area like the Arabian Sea can be we can effectively exercise sea control over that. So that, of course, we did. But I think aircraft carriers in our Indian context have a much larger role to play. We're looking to be the dominant maritime power in the Indian Ocean. And that is why it is very important that we have full spectrum blue water capability. And aircraft carriers are central to this. And therefore, we have 2 aircraft carriers at the moment, and you're aware that the Navy has already been repeatedly asking for a 3rd aircraft carrier. There is sort of a tacit understanding that yes, India does need 3 aircraft carriers. However, so far we've not had a firm program as yet, hasn't got off the ground, which is important because the skills that we have learned while building INS Vikrant, now that, like you said, it got commissioned in 2022, almost 3 years have passed since then. We should not lose those skills. We created a very robust ecosystem of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 vendors. They need to keep getting business to sustain themselves and to remain in business. So that is one part of it. Secondly, aircraft carriers and vessels of that caliber and that size do not get built in a day. If India is looking today to continue its maritime dominance into the next decade, let's say 2035 onwards, when we expect a very substantial Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean, because China needs the Indian Ocean to access the Atlantic. So the Great Park contestation that China is looking at, with the US, will perhaps be in the Indian Ocean, where India, as the dominant maritime power,
yes,
China will definitely seek to contain.
Absolutely. Commodore Singh, also as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned, what was the role played by, vessels like INS Vikrant?
Sorry, can you...
What was the role played by the Indian Navy, in Operation Sindoor and other vessels?
No. Okay, so a vessel like INS Vikrant, like I said, it's a sea control platform.
Yes.
Now, when you have a platform like INS Vikrant accompanied by its carrier battle group, you're covering a sea area of 200, 300 kilometers, which is tremendous. And with the kind of firepower we now have in the Indian Navy, we've got the Vikrant with its, like you mentioned, 36 aircraft capability, including 26 fighter aircraft. We've got destroyers like the Delhi class, the Kolkata class, the Mumbai class, with very powerful missiles, land attack capability, vertical launch systems. We've got powerful submarines which are lurking below the depths to intercept the enemy's movement. We've got submarines which can fire land attack missiles. So effectively, if India had been called upon, or if the escalation matrix, if we decided, fortunately in Sindoor, we were the ones who decided the escalation matrix, and we decided not to escalate beyond a point because our end state was very clear. We were going for the terrorists. We were not going for the state. But had push come to shove, had the sort of escalation gone beyond a certain point, the Navy was ready to launch a kinetic attack on Pakistan from the sea. That means we were to open one more front for them to worry about. There's a wide asymmetry between Pakistan's naval capabilities and our naval capabilities.
Yes.
So, on the one hand, the Navy, without firing a shot, can exercise sea control, which means that you can choke off any trade that may be coming to a particular country. Pakistan is just one deep water port,
right,
really effectively Karachi. Gwadar is hardly a deep water port. It's not really functional as such. So we could have choked Pakistan economically, and we could have decimated the port cities that Pakistan depends upon for 100% of its trade,
okay,
with a kinetic attack from the sea.
Okay. Commodore Singh, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that big story.